Good afternoon, Peter. Good evening, everyone, or good morning if you're in Asia. Yeah, we're starting a little early as usual. We will wait, of course, to get into the main subject until everyone comes in. Let me know if you can hear me all right. Good, good. Alan Zibelman is here. Grow Mechanic, Alan Atlas Jones. Look at Bunker Hill. Good evening, all. Billy's here. Billy, he might jump off the sofa because it's quite hot today. It's probably the hottest day of the year. We don't really have air conditioning in the homes here in the UK because we get this kind of weather maybe 2 to 3 weeks a year. It's not really, it doesn't really pay to have an air conditioning. It's not really necessary, but when it is hot, it's a little bit uncomfortable. So Billy might jump off. Loud and clear, that's good. Midnight Green from Philadelphia. Ricois from Montreal. James Williams. Apes, yeah, hi Apes. I got my Silver Squeeze mug. It's got Billy and a silverback and some silver coins and bars. Yeah, I think Wall Street Silver Reddit group, they're up to over 110,000 silverbacks. They're growing. I recommend people join that Reddit group. There's a lot of fun stuff there. And the more we grow the community, the better, to make people aware of silver, that silver is money, that silver is something, a good hedge to have in this crazy world of fiat currency. Their YouTube channel as well, Wall Street Silver, I think they've got over 20,000 subscribers. I watched this afternoon. They interviewed Mark Faber, who I've interviewed on this channel, and it was a pretty good interview. They do some really good interviews. Depository Trust Company. Well, the DTCC. Yeah, I will talk about that. I can talk about it a little here. We got 4 minutes to the official open or start. Uh, they're just a big depository for stock certificates. It used to be held uh, through paper certificates. They've gone electronic, of course. I've heard people saying that they own all the stocks, all the shares, but that's not really technically true. They're custodians. So if you buy shares through your broker, those shares are going to be at the DTCC. That's what they are. They're just a trust. They deposit, but of course it's all electronic now. I think a few years ago there's a really bad flood in New York, and a lot of the documents there just disappeared. Unfortunately, they had a problem, which seemed a little bit coincidental um, with the flood. But yeah, it's all held electronically. So technically, yeah, they could basically, it would be stealing, of course, but it could be done. They could stop people's access to their shares if they wanted, if they want to turn the system off. It's all electronic now, unfortunately. Everything is electronic. And that's why I think it's really important to have a few of these physical silver or even gold, if that were to happen. Just dropped one of the coins. Pick it up. I've got one here. It's actually a Papua New Guinea shilling. It's got a hole in it, but it's silver. So an interesting coin with a hole. Alain Roy from Montreal. Anash Nambiar. Hi, Anash. Hi, Jillian B. She says, hello, evening, Mario and Billy. Grant Harding from Perth, Western Australia. Yeah, I think I saw one of, I think it was the CEO of Qantas. He was giving a speech, and some guy just walked behind him and splattered him with a pie right in his face. I thought that was good. Qantas is talking about forcing people to get vaccinated to go on their flights. I think that's why that was done. No is here, mash and share people. Yeah, and all of you who are new to the channel or watching here the first time, if you enjoy the live stream, I do a video every day as well. Think about subscribing. Son of Silver Stacker, thanks for what you do. Oh, you're welcome. So I'm gonna just have a quick sip of my water. So my wife and I yesterday went to a friend's house. She had a party, garden party, quite a big garden. We were there quite a long time. It was really nice day. Barbecue. I helped out with the barbecue, so it was good. But I think we're supposed to go back to normal from June 21st, but I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to keep us still locked in these controls until for another month. And I even heard that they're thinking about keeping all these regulations about social distancing and masks up until spring next year. So yeah, I think they're trying to condition the public, and they're trying to force people. They're saying that they have to keep these controls or social distancing rules because people need to take their second doses of you know what. Try not to say that too much, that word. So yeah, it's 9 o'clock. So yes, the title of the live stream is "The Symptoms for a Currency Event Worldwide Continue to Mount." And yeah, I've spoken a lot about a currency event, and in this case, I mean hyperinflation or the crack up boom. I've spoken about it for many years, since I've started my channel in late 2015, that I expect for us to get a crack up boom or a currency collapse or hyperinflation. But there's a lot of conditions for that to happen. I mean, they're not perfect, but when you look back at history, at Weimar Germany and Central Europe, because it was not just Germany that had a hyperinflation, it was also the Central Powers that lost World War I, like Austria, and I think Hungary, Czechoslovakia, or Austria, actually, not Czech. Yeah, they had hyperinflation, so it's not just Germany, and it's not just the money printing that causes the hyperinflation, but it's also the loss of faith in the system, loss of faith in our political leaders, also other kinds of leaders, military leaders, business leaders. People lose faith and confidence in those people because they abuse their power. Their policies are wrong-headed. It's also a period where everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And I recommend this book, When Money Dies, by Adam Ferguson. It's about Weimar Germany. And I was reading this again a little bit earlier this week, and he talks about how every year after World War I, things seem to get worse and worse. There are loads of catastrophes. Katastrophen became a common term in Germany, and things got so bad that they never look like they would get worse, but they did. And I think they're trying to put us into this mind frame as well. And what do I mean by that? Well, with what's happened last year, and is still happening now, you know, it's like a lot of crises, and they're going to get worse. I think the COVID crisis is just a warm up for even worse things, and they're trying to condition us to lockdowns. I've seen that there's an article or someone who, I think her name is Mariana Matsukato, or she's written, she's partnering with the World Economic Forum. She's like at a university, I think Imperial College London, or one of these Gates funded university, and she's talking about climate lockdown. So they could give us all these catastrophes. And the other thing as well, people, are very divided as well. In the That's one of the symptoms of hyperinflation. There's societal unrest, political unrest, and I think that's becoming more and more apparent, not only in the U.S. but in Europe, in the U.K. So that's why I think we're getting closer and closer. It's not just the money printing, but people have to lose faith and confidence uh, in political, monetary leaders, business leaders, and I think that's happening in spades. We saw Macron being slapped the other day. We saw the CEO of Qantas getting a pie in his face. People are getting angry. We saw the G7 as well. They tell us to social distance and wear masks, and they were all like close to each other, no masks, loads of people outside. Yes, the official pictures, they had their masks on, but the behind the scenes photos, they were hugging each other, but for us, they were doing all these stupid elbow shakes and stuff, and people are getting fed up. They're seeing right through our leaders, and I think we're getting to that point where, I can't tell you when the hyperinflation is going to start, but at least we've got time to prepare, and that's why you shouldn't really trade your physical gold and silver. You only trade it for fiat if you want to exchange your physical gold and silver for an asset that's tangible, in my opinion, and that you want to have and is productive. You don't leave your wealth in fiat. I think that's the biggest risk. And it's not just the dollar, it's all the fiat currencies that are going to get hurt. Even though the dollar, I think, is in relative terms, is going to be weaker than the major currencies, as I've said before. So let me enlarge the chat here because I can't see very well. See if you guys got questions. Agenda 30 will actually mean, I mean, yeah, they're trying really hard. Hopefully, they won't succeed, these people. And I think, as I've said many times before, the way to stop financing these people is to stop holding as much fiat currency in the banking system as possible, because that's how we finance them. Because fiat currency is the flip side of the debt that the government uses to finance all of its operations. Howard Buffett, who was Warren Buffett's father, back in 1948, he was a congressman, and he said that being able to convert your the money in the bank that you have into gold and silver and take it out of circulation is a way to stop government from spending. Right now, of course, government can spend because they can print out of thin air with the help of the Fed. But I think if we keep stacking, they're going to have a very tough time financing themselves. And I think that's going to be the hyperinflation. I think Rafi Faber talked about that because Murray Rothbard wrote that hyperinflation is actually the general public revolting against the theft. The theft, of course, is inflation, and also revolting against the power of the elites. They basically don't want the currency anymore. They'll get rid of the currency as much as possible. People lose faith and confidence. Uh, Alan Zibelman, yes, Gold Investments, they did get the 5 franc piece that you sent. I will have to, I will go, when I go there, I don't go see them very often, but when I go there, I'll go, they're holding it for me. Thank you very much. I have a 5 Swiss franc piece, I think from 1922 or 23. I bought it at a coin expo, and it's silver, of course. Uh, Over 10 years ago, I think I paid 95 euros for it. I think it's probably worth a bit more. It's a collector's one. Mark Carney comes across as a Bolshevik. Yeah, Mark Carney is part of this climate agenda. He's very much in this part of this thing. He's heading groups for the UK government. I think they call it COP 26 or something. They're going to have a conference later on this year. They're really trying to like ram that down our throats. The climate thing. They're talking, of course, about the climate lockdowns as well. Let me see if I can find let's see. Climate lockdown. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so here is this person. I'm going to share the screen. Having a problem here. Oh, I'm sorry about this. Right now, I can't share this, but yeah, let's see your questions. Bring back Gordon Brown. We need a bargain. Dollar will gain and silver will drop in the near future. Kevin Kelly. Well, I think at the G7 they talked more. They talk about more fiscal spending, so they're not going to stop that. I don't see silver really. I see the dollar continue to drop versus silver and gold and commodities. What happens to commodities if oil hits 100 a barrel? Well, that's a symptom that all commodities will probably be following oil up. If And I think oil could go to 100. And even if we don't have, right now the bond market, which I have to say is quite manipulated, is pointing to a slowdown in the economy. The economy in the U.S. isn't doing well. The economies here aren't doing well either. Possibility of hyperinflation? Well, I think it's very high, and I think that's what I mean by a currency event. The title of this live stream. It's I see, the conditions, political, economic, monetary, social, all the symptoms are there. And I highly recommend people read this book, because what happened in Germany and Central Europe after World War One, very similar to what's happening now. Huge amounts of debt, we got debt monetization now. The central banks are for all intents and purposes, monetizing the deficits. Yeah, it's getting really bad. So yeah, I think the chances are very high. And there's when you inflate the system like they have for 50 years, the only way to stop the inflation is to pull the plug, take away the punch bowl, and yeah, have a recession or a depression. But nowadays, if they smell, they get a hint of some kind of correction to the downside in terms of the economy, they don't let it happen. They come out with fiscal and monetary stimulus, and what that leads to is a crack up boom, like the Austrians call it, and that's hyperinflation. People lose faith and confidence. They think, that this inflation can never stop, so they revolt against that by not accepting the currency anymore, because that's what hyperinflation is. The demand for the fiat currency drops completely. People want anything but the fiat currency. And I think a lot of the commodity price moves that we've seen recently is part of that. Norman Burton, thank you for your super chat. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to uh, Day Johnson says 666 in the chat. Yeah, that's an interesting number, I guess. Some people also talk about how build back better, which is a World Economic Forum mantra. If you look at BBB, it is looks like 666, doesn't it? Someone asked about Cliff High here. Cliff High was on Greg Hunter's show today. He stated chip shortage was due to yeah, I watched that actually. He was on Rumble with Greg Hunter. I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, silver is the most conducive metal in electronics, and there's a huge shortage of semiconductors and the um, microelectronics is in really bad shape in terms of the supply chain. And I read an article. Unfortunately, I won't be able to share it right now. I will fix this. But I read an article from IBM.com, and they talk about how the semiconductor shortage actually was starting already before COVID-19, and COVID-19 made it worse because people changed their habits. They stayed at home. A lot of people work from home, so they had to buy computers, mobile phones, more electronics. They're playing more games. They're streaming more stuff. And yeah, silver is a big part of it. And also the other rare earth metals that China really, China's been the country that really has done a lot of the mining for rare earths. The West has been completely has fallen completely behind in that sense. So yeah, I hadn't thought about that, and what Cliff High said there is very interesting. I recommend the Cliff High interview on Greg Hunter. Girl OG thinks Cliff is a crackpot. Well, Cliff High has been right about many things. I don't think he's a crackpot, but everyone can have their opinion. He's been very good predicting cryptocurrencies. He thinks Bitcoin is going to 234,000, and I wouldn't put it past Bitcoin from doing that, even though right now it's a little bit under pressure. Low blood pressure, thank you for your super chat. Have you bought a wheelbarrow for all your fiat? No, I don't have much fiat. I think now what they're going to try to do before it gets really bad, wheelbarrow kind of situation. Well, first of all, a lot of stuff is now done through debit cards, credit cards, or prepaid cards, electronic payments. But even that could look silly, paying 100,000 pounds for something. Or I think what they'll do before it gets really bad is they will try to go to a new digital currency and say, oh, we're just gonna, create a new currency because, and they're gonna use an excuse, but it's not gonna work because people are not gonna have confidence in their new digital currency, or, the Fed coin or the e-pound, whatever they're gonna call it. Mr. Ashford, do you think the inflation caused price increases will also be straining the subsidies they pay for farmers. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Who do you who do you mean by they? I'm not sure. Is it the U.S. government, UK government, or I'm not sure. One thing about the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, they've been saying that it's all because of the base effect. But I recommend. I'm going to put the link here for you guys. Let me. He's really good. This guy. Uh, it's wolfstreet.com, and he's written about the base effects. And he points out rightfully that the base effect of the CPI is measured from year to year because in March, April, and May last year, there's a blip in a lot of prices because they locked everything down. So of course, a year later, it's going, the year-on-year rate is going to be quite high. But he noted that, and I'll have a quick look here, that for the consumer prices, they jumped 0.6 for the month of May. That was a monthly jump from April, and it jumped 0.8 in April and 0.6 in March. So this is nothing to do with the base effect because it's jumping from March this year, to May this year. It jumped 2% over 3 months. Annualized, that's 8.1%. So the base effect theory or excuse doesn't wash. Peter Broomsgaard, thank you for your super chat. Nathan M, what do you think will happen to UK real estate market? Well, it's a false market in terms of real value, because the only reason prices are going up generally of real estate in the UK is because they're keeping interest rates so low, near zero, and the currency is becoming worth less and less. In real terms, housing, yeah, it's probably doing okay, but it's not really. You shouldn't look at it as an investment unless you're going to be in the real estate business. But if you have a house to live in, I think that's, yeah, you shouldn't leverage yourself, and you shouldn't look at it as an investment. You shouldn't really worry too much, I think, about it, about the price. Just see, yeah, Billy's on the floor now because he got quite hot. Oh yeah, Ashford is talking, Mr. Ashford, about the European. Yeah, under the EU, the farmers here got a lot of subsidies. I don't think that's going to end. They're going to keep subsidizing the farmers. Is probably to keep food prices low in this country, but we're going to pay for it, of course, indirectly as well. But for the general public, I think it's really important to keep food prices low, because rising food prices could create a lot of societal problems. We saw that in the in the Middle East, in Egypt about 10 years ago, when grain prices went up. There were like these pretty bad revolutions there. Journey Moore Farm thinks Bitcoin is breaking out. Yeah, I think if Bitcoin holds the 30,000 level for a while now, it will eventually pick back up technically. Am I recommending people buy Bitcoin? I have in the past said, if you want to have Bitcoin, yeah, just buy, be aware that it's very volatile, and like that you shouldn't really leverage or borrow money to do it. like Michael Saylor told people to mortgage everything to buy Bitcoin. I think that's crazy. I still favor precious metals though, but I do have some crypto exposure. One second. It's getting a little, getting a bit hot today. I can't really have the window open because of, with the microphone, you need to have, it's like a studio, you need to close the doors. So unfortunately, I'm a little hot right now. YK, thank you for your super chat. What do you think BlackRock purchasing entire neighborhoods, creating price inflation, and force homeowners to pay high property tax due to that? I don't think, first of all, yeah, price rises is not inflation, it's the consequence of inflation. The only reason BlackRock has been able to do this is because they're very closely associated with the Federal Reserve. They've even done work for the Federal Reserve in the last 12 months with all the programs the Fed instituted. Yeah, I mean, more and more, more and more of these big private equity or fund managers, hedge funds, they're going to get more. This hasn't only started now. It started out after the '08 crisis. Yeah, and it's really outrageous because they're doing this on the back of the taxpayers indirectly, because the Fed, uh, the only way the Fed can finance this is because, yeah, we're seeing huge deficit spending and the Fed is increasing the liquidity. Gerolji, thank you for your super chat. Off topic, but here up north, they're spraying the skies like crazy lately. How is it in England? Actually, no, I don't. Yeah, I guess you're talking about the, how do you call that? I forgot the term. I know what you mean. Yeah. No, I don't really notice that. Yesterday, we were out most of the day and it was blue skies. So, really hot. I'm sorry about this. Ah. Well, I noticed someone said finally the weather is nice in the UK, and that's true. Up until 3-4 weeks ago, it was still really cold. It didn't even feel like it was spring or summer. No, yeah, I guess you mean the sprays. What do you call I forgot the term now. But no, I don't really look into that much. I wouldn't put it past them from doing it here as well. Lord Humongous is here. Oh yeah, chemtrails. Forgot that. Maybe I'm getting old and I'm forgetting things. Will the Fed's speech Wednesday affect the gold prices? I don't know about a speech by the Fed. I mean, you have Fed officials that make speeches. What I think you mean is the Fed FOMC meeting. It starts Wednesday and it ends on Thursday. So the announcement and the press conference will be on Thursday. Yeah, gold price a lot of times does move during that period of the FOMC meeting. So yeah, I mean, we saw Friday. They really, I think it was pure manipulation of the gold price. I'm not concerned. We need to start thinking, we should think of gold and silver not in terms of fiat, but in terms of weight. You got to keep trying to accumulate physical and increase your weight. That's how we should look at it. I know it's frustrating what they're doing, but if you ask a Venezuelan 4 or 5 years ago, let's say they had gold and they started trading it because gold was going up and down, it was the wrong thing to do. You have to hold on to it. Oh, Rochelle, I think these chemtrails, there's a lot of metal particles that they put into that. I think a lot of times they try to modify the weather as well with the chemtrails. Yeah, and there's a lot of proof that they do that. Airline pilots have come out and said that they do that. But when people talk about it, they're called conspiracy theorists. But I think Richie from Boston covers that a lot. So yeah. Elliot Martin, do you think Macron realizes has been told that all of France's gold is leased out, probably tenfold? Um, I think, yeah, and it wouldn't only be France that has done that. The US has done that. The UK has done that, probably Germany to some extent. I think what's happening, Macron talking about gold at the G7, is that there are some bullion banks who need to short cover because they have a huge short position in unallocated gold. So they need the physical to close out those positions. Maybe people want delivery of that unallocated, they want to convert it to allocated, and they don't have the physical because they created too many paper claims. And now people want to convert those claims into real gold, and they have a problem. And I think that's what it's all about. It's not about helping Africa. When was the last time Europe wanted to help Africa? I don't think they ever helped Africa. If anything, Europe has exploited Africa, I would say. Yeah, geoengineering, that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, the other thing about silver, all this new green, economy they want to set up, infrastructure spending, the great, pushing all this ESG. It's environmental, societal, and something else. Forgot what it, the whole thing. You're going to need a lot of not just rare earth metals. You're going to need a lot of silver. And yeah, like Cliff High said, there is a shortage of silver. Dilwyn Roberts, Mario Glint use MasterCard. I hear no jab, no MasterCard. What do you think I have? What do you think I have Glint card? I don't even actually understand what you're saying there. You're saying that MasterCard is saying that if you don't have a vaccine, you can't have a MasterCard? I haven't heard that. I haven't heard about that. Bronson Smith, you're the man. Thank you. We want a sterling Billy coin with English London hallmarks. Yeah, Bronson, I have been looking into that, and it's not as simple. A lot of these mints, they cater more for bigger wholesalers, not small, uh, you know, a small YouTube channel. I am looking into that, but it's not as simple and it's quite costly. I have to see if it's worth me doing it, but I'm looking into it. I will probably come out with some kind of, you know, uh, coin or even bar, let's say. Uh, JK Co. How do you think Russia dumping US dollar will affect the US? Uh, the Russian economy isn't that big, but Russia is, of course, a powerful military power or country. Uh, I think what it does, though, it gives a signal that other countries that they're going to start doing the same thing. I mean, Russia officially, as foreign exchange reserves, has almost no dollars, and they have a lot of gold. I think recently we had news about the Russian sovereign wealth fund. They're gonna even get rid of stocks that are in dollars or bonds. Yeah, I think it's significant, but you know, I don't think the dollar is going to go away. Just like the British pound hasn't gone away, even though it lost its world reserve status. You know, between World War One and World War Two, that era there. So the dollar will still be around, and it'll still, but I think it's going to be a multipolar fiat currency world. But I think what's important to for the system is that it has some kind of backing, the world monetary system. That would be gold. Uh, some people think Bitcoin might do it too. Who knows? I'm open-minded. I personally, yeah, I don't really care too much about the fiat currencies. Of course, a lot of times we have to earn in those fiat currencies. But in terms of, you know, you have the choice to be your own central banker, as Jim Sinclair coined the phrase many, many years ago. I know some people attribute it to other people, but it was Jim Sinclair back in the early 2000s who actually said that. Music lover forever, do you see there now being issues after election in Peru where a left-wing candidate was talking about nationalizing the silver mines? Uh, yeah, I mean, there's always political risk in countries like in Latin America with the mining. I haven't really seen the story about Peru, but I wouldn't be surprised. The other thing that is hurting mining, not just gold or silver mining. And I've been watching a little bit of Gold Rush from last year. I think it's season 11. And they had a lot of problems sourcing parts because of all the disruptions. And I don't think that's gone away with also the semiconductor shortage. Everything nowadays has electronics. So yeah, there's a impact everywhere, and I think that's also gonna help keep prices rising, not just the money printing, but the break in the supply chain and the break also, yeah, the supply chain for semiconductor uh, apparently is very intricate. So one little part of the supply chain breaks, the whole thing breaks. And a lot of it, the supply chain for semiconductors is based out of Asia, countries like South Korea, Taiwan. So, and we've become more and more dependent on those countries for that. Whew. Do you see a deflationary event coming, mellow fellow? No, I don't, because every time there is some kind of stock market crash or recession, they'll come out. You know, by they I mean the central bankers and the governments. They always come out and try to stop it. They don't allow the natural process of the economic cycle to take place. I mean, before there was central banks and fiat currency, you did have, you know, before the Fed, you did have business cycles, but they weren't as accentuated. Now they want to stop the business cycles, but they create bigger crises by doing that. So no, I don't see them allowing it. As I said, that is one way to end the inflation, to have a deflation. But the fact that they won't let it happen makes me think that we're going to have the crack up boom. That's the other alternative, and that's the destruction of the currency, not by deflation, but hyperinflation. And that's the currency event that I see happening. Uh, Jeffrey Morris, do you envisage setting up an interview with Jim Sinclair? I have contacted, you know, the guys who run his blog in the last years gone by 2, 3 years ago about doing an interview. I never got a response. Maybe I should try another time. I would enjoy having a chat with Jim Sinclair. I've been following his JS Mindset blog since 2002 when he started it. So yeah, he's been a big part of my education about gold and the monetary system. I don't think I would have known as much as I do if I hadn't read all his stuff. SK, what if the Russians and the Chinese go to gold money before the US? They value it very low. How would that affect gold? Well, if they go to gold money, it's going to be disastrous, I think, for countries like the US and Britain, because we have almost no gold, I would say. I think the gold at Fort Knox is all hypothecated. It's all encumbered. And I saw that is it Alan Mooney? He's a congressman. He's put a bill through, or he's sent questions, I think, to the US Treasury about the gold reserves. He wants to know, he wants to have an audit every 5 years. He wants to know if the Treasury is trading gold, what they're doing in the market. He wants to know if the gold in Fort Knox is encumbered. So yeah, I think it would be a bad thing for the US and Britain. Chris Conlon, thank you for your super chat. Have you heard of the coined economic term Dutch disease? So does Canada and China have it? Thanks. I haven't actually heard of Dutch disease. Let me just, I haven't, maybe I can find it here. Dutch, or maybe you can tell me. Dutch disease economics. Shorthand way of describing paradox, which occurs when good news, such as discovery of large oil reserves, harms countries' broader economy. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Dutch disease. Okay. Does it, I think it means like when a country becomes dependent on just one product. I guess that, yeah, I guess we could look at Saudi Arabia, for example, dependent on oil. Maybe Canada, maybe you think it's going to become dependent on natural resources. Is that what you mean? I don't know if China has it. I mean, China has a pretty mixed, well, they produce everything in China. They're not just dependent on one thing. So I'm not sure. Dutch disease, someone just talked about this. Yeah. So I think that's what it means. That means that a country that does really well from one sector, one section of the economy, or one kind of business, and they neglect all other parts. I think that's what that Dutch disease is. Not too sure about Canada. I don't really know the intricacies of the Canadian economy. Yes, it's got a lot of natural resources, a lot of mining. But yeah, so that could, if there is a commodity boom, which I think there will be, Canada, yeah, could be kind of too much of a good thing, I guess. My channel, hi Ned Flanders. I started really late 2015. So yeah, so I've been around for 5.5 years. Liam J, yeah, I agree with what you're saying there about what's happening here. Yes. Freddie Moses, are you based in Bromley? No, I used to live in Bromley, but I don't live in Bromley anymore. I'm still close to Bromley. I would say that, I'm not that far from the countryside. Even Bromley wasn't that far. So no, right now I'm not planning to move. I'm gonna wait a bit longer. it's not convenient right now for my family and I to move. You have to think of that too. Uh, Guilherme Amadio, do you speak Portuguese? Yeah, I do. I was born and grew up in Brazil. It's my mother tongue, but yeah, I still speak to my sisters and my mom in Brazilian Portuguese. Here in the UK, I don't really speak much Portuguese. My wife is English, and my daughter, yeah, she. I tried to teach her when she was younger, but it's hard when the father, has a different language. If it had been the other way around, if I was English and my wife was Brazilian, I'm sure my daughter would have learned it. But being at work all the time, it was hard. So yeah, she doesn't. She speaks a little bit, but not that much. She understands a lot. Lord Humongous, where is Rothschild holding all those Reich, Reich, I think you mean Reichsbank, the German bars? I don't think they hold them anymore. I think they were all probably melted down and, recast without the Reichsbank stamp. So, yeah, there's a lot in Switzerland, a lot in London. They're everywhere, I would say. Not everywhere, but in the major centers, gold centers. Liam says you should look up North Lincoln, so cheap. Yeah. No, I know there's a lot of places. My wife likes Devon as well in the southwest of England. Jeffrey Gundlach, yeah, I think he's yeah, I haven't listened to him lately, but yeah, I respect his views. He knows what he's talking about. He's like a more of a bond market guy. Moved to Florida, Silver Dog. Well, it's not that easy because you know I don't have a green card. I'm not American. It's very hard to get. You know what I was thinking. I was watching Doug Casey. I think he was on. Well, he was on with on his channel. He talks to Matthew Smith and or was it no? It was Daniela Camboni. I think someone asked him. Uh, about political risk. He said political risk, diversifying politically, having some kind of foothold in other countries is a good thing. Of course, not all of us can do that, but he talked about Uruguay, and I think Uruguay is a nice place. Uh, am I thinking of moving to Uruguay? No, not really, but it could be somewhere to have a base there to spend some time, some months of the year over there. But right now, I'm not looking into that because everything is still disrupted. It's really hard. Even if they put you on a country on the green list and you go there to visit, while you're there, they could put them on the red list, and when you come back, you have to like go into quarantine. So I don't want to really travel right now. I'm gonna stay put. Sarge 27271, they're letting plenty of undocumented people in LMAO. Yeah, but I don't like to do. If I was going to go to a country, I wouldn't want to go there illegally. I want to do it the proper way. So that's why I guess Florida is a good place to go to visit and maybe spend the winters there, but not right now. Panama, yeah, that case you talked about Panama, but Panama is, I don't think the climate is great there. It's too hot. uh, my wife, uh, she's very fair and she doesn't do the heat very well. And I think, yeah, Panama wouldn't be a great place. Lily Robin, that case has a place in Aspen. Yeah, I was speaking through one of my uncles today because, well, he has a place in Uruguay. He lives in Uruguay. Right now, he's not there, but yeah, and my cousins grew up there, and he said it's a very nice place, Uruguay. And the reason it's done better than most other Latin American countries is because apparently in the 19th century, uh, their educational system was really good. There's no illiteracy in Uruguay, so it's quite a peaceful, clean country, stable, I would say as well. Do you think we have one more cycle of deflation to inflation left? Um, you see, I don't think we've had deflation. I think in terms of the money supply contracting, I think there might have been a little bit of price dropping or I hate to say that, but yeah, I don't think there is going to be deflation. I think there's going to be, yeah, stagflation, and usually hyperinflation happens when the economy is not doing well, and that's what we've got right now. We've got a lot of money and credit being created. So yeah, I think the deflation or the and if you want to look at deflation as the economy being in really bad shape, yeah, you will have that. We have that already. The economy is not doing well, but we have the currency that's going down the tubes. But after asset deflation, well, that's a bad terminology there. I think you mean asset prices dropping, because I look at deflation as the inverse of inflation, and inflation is the increase of money and credit. So deflation is the decrease of money and credit. Anyway, Shane O'Donnell, yeah, I have some of Doug Casey's books. I don't have The Speculator. BlackRock. When you say that BlackRock owns houses, yeah, but the thing is, uh, BlackRock invests people's money. So yes, BlackRock might control condominiums or houses, but those are owned by, they're investors that invest into BlackRock. The Federal Reserve, I guess, they're buying a lot of corporate bonds. Yeah, that's the plan. I think Greg Manarino talks about that eventually these people, they want to own everything. It's part of this World Economic Forum agenda, and that's why Larry Fink, I think he's part of the I think he's part of the World Economic Forum board. So I think it was uh, World Economic Forum, someone wrote a paper for the World Economic Forum and said that by 2030, people won't own nothing and they'll be happy and they'll be renting. So the question I have to ask when everyone's renting, there has to be someone who owns something, and it's going to be people like that, the Fed, World Economic, BlackRock, other hedge funds as well, and that started actually after the '08 crisis, and yeah, it's like communism, isn't it? It's going to be like a very few that own everything, and then the general public doesn't own anything. Sarge says, no one owns any share of anything. It's all owned by CEDE and Co. Yeah, I mean that technically, or the DTCC, these are, they hold the shares there. I mean, you can always ask your broker. to send your stock certificates. They could do that. It's probably going to be very difficult and a bit expensive. And that's why I say, investment is not necessarily buying shares of companies in the stock market. Investing is helping, people in your family, investing in your own business. I see it as a lot better. I do have stocks, mining stocks, but not a huge percentage of my savings is in that, because yeah, I don't feel very comfortable having a lot of stocks, be it even mining stocks. Roy Core, open the door. Well, I'm not going to open the door or the window because of the noise. Anyway, we only got 5 minutes. Yeah, it won't be a state factory, but it will be the big corporations. Yeah, and they own the government, of course. Do you think Comex LBMA will see defaults of delivery? No, I don't think so. They will do cash settlement. I don't think they'll default because it's part of the contract that they can cash settle. That's like a default in my book, but yeah, they'll offer people cash settlements. Gold spot opens in an hour. Yeah. Yeah, it starts trading on Comex at 11 p.m. London, and I think also it starts, the spot market. That's the cash market. Starts trading, I think, in New Zealand, interbank, then Australia, and then Hong Kong. But Comex, the Comex future starts at 11 p.m. London. What's your thoughts on banks owing owning property to let out? Well, yeah, well, it's normal. In the past, banks didn't want to own property because it's too much of a hassle. I'm not sure if they're gonna want to do that. A lot of times, what they do, if they lend out to a mortgage and the there's a default, they try to sell it. Sell that mortgage. They don't want to own houses, but why do I think they're maybe looking to own houses now? Well, because I think they know that it's not worth keeping it in cash because the cash is trash. So they'd rather have something. I mean, how do I feel about it? What can you do? I mean, the thing, and that's why I don't have a mortgage. I try to get rid of your mortgage, try to get out of debt, but yeah, it's wrong, of course, because the fiat currency system has allowed the banks to get into that business. How many years we'll stay in the depression? I think the economies of the West are already in a depression. The reason why the statistics look better is because they're using all these furlough schemes. They're not counting all the people that are unemployed. So I think we're already in one. I don't know how long it will last. It could, look at Japan. They haven't been doing well for 30 years. So a couple more minutes. Is it better to rent or get a mortgage before the reset? I don't know your situation, Scott, but if you have to take a very big mortgage in percentage terms to the value of the house, your loan to value ratio, I would probably just rent, because I don't want to be stuck with a big mortgage. Even if there is a reset, they will make sure that on the other side of the reset, you will be your mortgage will be will not be written off. Why can't miners set silver prices? Well, because they have to sell it, I guess, to the refiners, and the refiners set their price, using the LBMA fixing price. That's the problem. But they could try to work together with the miners and say, but yeah, unfortunately, the spot fake price still controls a lot of the silver price. Midnight Chef says, if we have hyperinflation, you want to buy a house, not rent. Mario is wrong. The only way I said rent, the reason I said rent is that, if you have to get a mortgage, I'd rather not buy a house with a mortgage. But no, if I had cash, uh, I would buy a house. If I could buy a house for cash and not have a mortgage, of course I would buy a house if we're going to have a hyperinflation, because a house holds its value. All I'm trying to say is that if you get a big mortgage when you buy a house, don't think that that mortgage will be wiped out with a hyperinflation, because the bankers, they always, come after you. Max Planck, the sovereign is 0.2354 of an ounce of gold, a troy ounce. So here we go, 0.2354 troy ounces. And yeah. And the full weight is about 7.99 grams. And it's but then you multiply that by 0.9166, 22 carat. So there you go. That's the sovereign. All right. So time is up. Thank you, everyone, for being here, participating, for all your questions, for your super chats, and if any of you are new and you enjoyed the live stream, I make a video every day, and think about subscribing to the channel. So take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.